will be able to win out in the rematch between these two teams.
Really, really fun rematch between these two. As you said, Disrupt edging out eUnited the last time. And we were talking right before we got into broadcast, John, about eUnited and how this squad has just not really been clutch inside of the clutch. They really haven't had that chance to make things happen. And when it presents itself, they seem to just always crumble. I don't know if they're going to be able to get past that today, but on paper, eUnited is chalked up to beat Disrupt. It just comes down to what Disrupt shows on the board.
I think as well the maps are going to make for a very interesting sway factor for this matchup. We're going to be going on to Oregon second, and in my opinion, Disrupt had a very convincing performance for it being the first time they played it in an official in a really long time back on Monday. So I think that there's a real potential that if Disrupt can get off to a good start and get themselves the win here on Clubhouse, that they could possibly 2-0 this series if Oregon remains a strong pick for them. But of course, we'll talk more about that when the time comes along. We're already pretty much through the bans here. Maverick and Thatcher, we are following usual meta trends right now, along with Maestro and then Valkyrie for our final ban.
Funny enough that we actually ended up following what we would assume Clubhouse would look like. eUnited actually has some of the most unique bans right now inside of the NAL. Most notably, Hibana and Zof being their top bans for offense, both banning those 4 times. So that's some pretty interesting stuff, especially with Zofia coming in, taking that away from quite a few squads.
It's certainly going to make the hard breach efforts here from the eUnited camp a lot more difficult, especially when it comes to sites like Cache, due to how quintessential opening up things like the balcony wall are going to be to getting adequate site access to be able to take control without having any adequate counter to the wall denial. It's going to make things a little bit awkward with trying to get that job done. Thankfully, there's plenty of methods to work their way around it, and even better news, we're at least not going to have to immediately worry about that problem when it comes to the wall, thankfully, as we'll be in the basement. They'll still have to worry about things like the hatches, though, as Cade will be coming into play here on NJR.
Oh, and that's a huge, huge thing to notate there. Having Kaid available with Thatcher off the board just makes it to where Kaid is so powerful, especially here on Clubhouse. There's a lot of options for him with those Electro Claws to keep those walls locked down, especially inside of the garage over on the CCTV hold. We've seen a lot of interesting things happen with those Electro Claws. This time around, though, they're focusing on the dirt hold.
This would be important to mention here for our attackers as well, that there is not going to be a Kali coming into play here, at least for this first round. So trying to counter out a lot of that wall denial is going to be a very difficult task, if not outright impossible for United to accomplish, meaning they're going to have to work very horizontally to be able to get control of this. Getting hatch control is not going to be an easy task, but nonetheless, United are out on the board. We've got their players starting to move into the building now. There's not a massive amount of a roam game going on here for Disrupt. In fact, I can't seem to see much of it at all. They might just be full-on turtling downstairs. Yeah, and that would be pretty correct, with the main exception being Retro over on blue stairs. So map control is not going to be much of an issue for eUnited. They'll be able to get themselves set up very early on in the round here, and the good news for them is that they'll have all of that excess time to focus on setting themselves up for the actual site take, which quite obviously, as we've already discussed here, is going to be the much more difficult part about this round for them.
Yeah, very smooth sailing ahead of them. Don't have to worry too much about time management as long as they stay on top of their tasks. So we'll see how that plays out. But eUnited actually starting off on their very ill preferred site. I mean, their offense right now, 38.5% on their offensive rounds is what they're looking at over the season, whereas on their defense, 57.4, John. If we look across the field, though, to DG, they're actually a little bit better on offense than eUnited is, but their defense, a little worse than what eUnited has to offer, excuse me, but 47.1%. Some early on engagements here, about a minute 40 down, already have a trade go through. Reed's going to pick up Yeti, but not before NJR falls.
I mean, that's a bold one from Yeti, too. It's very little assistance on that push. Just ends up swinging over into Moto and takes a fight. He's able to win it out, like we said, saw there at the minimum, but unfortunately, due to the setup that was already established by Disrupt, is very easily traded, and they're able to bring it down to a 4v4 with no additional damage going on to the player that did the trading. A lot of work being done right now to try and take out the kitchen hatch. Like we've already talked about many times, this is a super involved process for United right now, due to the fact that they don't have any way to counter the wall denial. They could have bought a Kali, but obviously that can make for a very awkward operator to play, especially against a basement take, so we can see exactly why they've chosen not to do that. But as a result of that, trying to get any of the hatches which were reinforced by Cade is going to be a pretty massive task. Alfama has been able to use one of his breaching charges to get the blue hatch open, if memory serves me correctly, but he's probably going to save the second one instead of more than likely wasting it on trying to open the kitchen hatch for probably trying to open up church or something else like that if the opportunity presents itself, but that's not going to happen as he'll get shut down. But for United, they're holding on. Grixer finds a very nice trade on the shuttle after he gets away with a kill through the floorboards. Rexon as well moves right in and just deletes Retro's head, giving him access to blue.
Nice pick up there by Rex, and it's been the trade game back and forth in between eUnited and Disrupt, and both of them good for it so far, but eUnited now just a man ahead here as J9 and Reed are the only two available for Disrupt to clutch this up inside of our very first round. Still have a decent amount of utility to try and help things, but they have to worry about Grixer and the rest of the squad bullying their way into Kool-Aid. Reed, the only man left alive as he's inside a church. Smoke grenade's down, but he doesn't know exactly where this plant's going down either. Uses the offensive smoke to his availability. Rotates in. Is he going to be able to get the kill? He does. Reed with a very nice pickup, re-smoking the smoke in the hallway to break that line of sight, rotates up to the hallway, able to pick up 2 quick kills. Very well done there on the defensive side.
Beautiful clutch by Reed, where things were not looking that great for Disrupt, and they shouldn't have even really gotten to that point as well. There, Disrupt suffering from a massive amount of lost 1v1s, which thankfully for them, in a large amount of the cases, they were able to pretty much immediately trade them out a lot of the time. But after we saw that blue kill happen, I believe it was Rexon that picked that up from inside of Oil Pit, things started to look really dodgy for them, but thankfully some heroic efforts from Reed start to turn it back around, and he's able to clutch it out by denying the plant and running us down to 0 timer. Beautifully played by him.
Okay, well, eUnited still having some problems on this offense. I mean, they got the picks that they needed, ended up with man count up. I mean, 3-on-2, eventually into the 3-on-1, but just stood flat-footed, assumed that Disrupt wasn't going to try and make a play, and that's exactly what happened. So you have to give it up to Reed at the end of the day. I mean, Reed, that's a great round for him. He hasn't been having the best stage 2 that we've seen, from him. He's usually a player that has a really, really high impact, but this stage, rating of a .79, negative 32 on that KD, but that doesn't mean that he can't get those big rounds or those big impact frags that could still have an influence.
I'm going to add 2 to that counter at least on the last round, start to turn that KD around a little bit.
There you go.
At least begin the efforts for it. And in the other side of the coin, now that Disrupt does have the basement locked down, they're going to shift to the site we would expect them to go to next, which is going to be upstairs here in CCTV and Cache. Quite a bit of an emphasis from them, of course, on reinforcing that left side garage wall, even putting the Cade denial, I believe that's Cade, yeah, Cade denial right on top of that to ensure that United are not going to be able to get easy vision onto the top catwalk this early on into the round. They'll put a little bit more effort into it in order to take that electric claw out and open up that POV if they really want to go for it, considering the denial is there in the first place. Currently, just a passive mute denial on the balcony wall as well. And like I've said many times, they're going to have to try and get Zofia in position below this floor. That'll be the easiest way to try and knock it out. But more than likely, there's an active effort from Disrupt that's going to, well, disrupt that, as we'll be holding top red, and more than likely Reed or another player downstairs, it's going to be NJR there, will look to interfere with this process as well.
Well, they kind of went right around your process there, John. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, they went right to CCTV window, made sure there was no ADSs, and then breaching rounded the wall.
That's another way to do it, too.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. There's so many ways to handle a lot of the things that you're faced with, especially on this site. I mean, for CCTV alone, there's 2 to 3 ways to be able to handle things. I mean, for instance, the electroclaw on garage is there so that they can't get the panel open to have any effect on the wall from that way, or cut somebody off from playing the window inside of the catwalk area. So there's a lot of options for this eUnited squad. They just choose to do it more horizontally. Don't want to try and take map control and let DG get an early pick.
Low-key really bad they opened it that way. Messed with my nice explanation and everything. I thought that was going to look really great.
You did really good. I was like, dude, John is killing this today.
They just
I saw him open the
other
CC
way.
window.
So,
oh no.
United is mounting a pretty large force over at the breach right now. 2 players on rappel with Ace standing up. Ace is going to be swinging a little bit here, trying to see if he can find the catwalk player for Disrupt. There is one sitting back there. Can't get a good confirmation as to who it is exactly just yet, but it's looking like now that we get to see it, it's Reed that's going to be holding the line here. You can also probably toss in a couple of those smoke charges from there if the need arises, but he's got to be careful with that, obviously, as he might reveal his POV if he tries to do that. So right now, just kind of holding the angle. You'll note that he's got himself the FMG as well to try and take duels at a bit of a longer range, a bit more efficiently, due to the fact that that SMG-11 is not going to last for a super long gunfight. So better just use it under those circumstances. United, despite having that player count stacked up at the breach, don't feel confident enough to push it yet. They've been lacking intel more than likely as to what's going on in Cache, so they don't really want to take a huge risk on just rushing in and hoping for the best. So this is going to start to get dangerous. They're now down to 30 seconds, and time is going to make them run out of options here relatively soon.
Yeah, this is quite questionable looking at eUnited's drone economy right now. I mean, it's really, really injured. They have a lot of options here to try and affect these defensive positions, but they're just not utilizing it. And now we're just going for kills. We're going to try and flood in, and it's not working out at all for eUnited. Disrupt all over the board. Retro teeing it off with a Nitro Cell as well. 4-on-1. Grix are the only man left alive as he gets 2. Still going to need a double, but not enough time on the board as Disrupt wrap things up with the bow here on round 2. eUnited, John, they get the wall good on good time as well. Like, they had a minute and I believe 50 seconds left to do whatever they wanted to do. All he did was waste their drones, didn't go for garage control, didn't go for stock with Buck. There was a lot of options there for them to try and make these defenders move into line of sights that were easier for them to handle, and they just never went for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't pay super close attention to their hard breach count later on in the round, so it could have just been they were out of hard breaches to do this, but I was very surprised they didn't try to go for a master or even construction control as well, because I'm assuming they would have had at least an additional Selma to try and open up one of those walls if they were reinforced, and they could have tried to look for another avenue that way. So it's a bit surprising we didn't decide, they didn't decide, I should say, to try and go through one of those routes. But like I said, I wasn't paying super close attention to the utility. They might have not had that option if all 3 of the Selmas were used at that point in the round.
Well, if these offenses keep going this way, I might really regret picking eUnited for this. But we're gonna figure that out. Obviously, like we talked about earlier, their defense is much better than their offense. Don't exactly know what's the disconnect in between those. Yeah, exactly, that as well. Especially with the bans that we have on for the offense. I mean, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt at the end of the day. We'll see how they fare when they're going into Master, but a lot of squads have gotten really, really good at holding this site down, so it's still going to be a difficult path.
See how Disrupt are able to hold it. Per record, I think they actually have the most trouble with their basement holds, if I'm remembering the stats correctly, but I can browse those in a moment if we get the chance. A lot of reinforcement going on to that trip wall right there. Technically, it's a double wall and a single wall, but whatever. As they're going to throw a Cade down there to be able to reinforce that and prevent as much attacker access as possible. This is also going to give a little bit of breathing room to NJR, of course, as he's going to be playing on the inside of Cash, looking to delay. He's created a bit of an iron box for himself to try and survive in, and hopefully, if not trade 1-for-1 at a minimum, waste a massive amount of time away from United's clock here.
Yeah, NJR's job is just to sit on an island here, waste time, as you said, and try and get rid of all those hard breaches. We'll see if he can do that. He's not going to have a shield for his cross or anything, so this is more than likely just an island setup. He's going to sit here and try and gun out if it's possible. But for right now, eUnited still trying to get some information. Still early timings here for eUnited, so not the worst thing in the world. Offensive lineup looking quite similar to what we had the last time. Actually, verbatim, that's exactly what it is. Grixer back onto the Buck, but this time now Skeleton Keying inside of stock, which I would have loved to have seen him do last time. Trying to work this Vigil out of here. Almost gets the pick up, but the Vigil's good for it. Keeps fighting back. NJR going to take quite a bit of damage inside of Cash to start us off.
It's going to create a bit of an awkward situation for NJR. Obviously, he doesn't have the top-down angles to worry about now. I think you can see the foot. Yep, does get a little bit of damage in response here, but he's also going to lose a bit of his wall as it's hard breached partially through from the looks of things, and he's no longer going to be safe in that position. I think that was actually, yeah, it looked like that was a thermite charge going onto the ground to possibly do that. So that's a creative use of it, to say the least, from Alfama. We'll have to see if they end up needing that later on in the round. More than likely not. This might have actually been a pretty good choice, especially considering it's completely flushed NJR out and back to the site.
It was really, really smart because NJR was so distracted with other things, as well as he didn't have the holes above the wall for the audio cue for the thermite charge going off. So putting it on the floor makes it to where not only do you not have any visual, but the audio is also extremely muffled. And obviously, since he's so focused on the Buck downstairs, he lets the wall blow up. So very unfortunate there for Disrupt. They still rotate out, lose nobody. Got a lot of damage onto Grixer, though. So some positives still here for the defensive squad.
Down to the last minute as well, so you can certainly say he's accomplished his goal of wasting time here. We'll have to see how much eUnited are able to use the construction position that they'll now get by forcing him back, of course, as there's still lots of things to be dealt with, like that triple wall that's denied right now by their Kaid, and there's not really much hope, I think, of getting rid of that at this point, considering they don't really have the adequate utility to do so, unless they were going to be able to get a nice concussion charge through. And oh, never mind. They were able to find it, it looks like, as I believe it was either downstairs or in a position they would have had access to. So they're getting rid of that electric claw, and they're going to be able to get Logi access after later. Nice find by the United crew.
Well, now it's the patience game for Disrupt as eUnited needs to get this offense moving. 20 seconds remain. They don't have much map control around the site either. 3 men inside of logistics as Alfama gets down. Diffuser currently on Kansan, but they're all being affected by this Banshee. Nice pickup here by Kansan. Can he do it again, though? No follow through. Shuttle. Very nice 2K for him. Only 5 seconds remain now as eUnited needs to get this plant down, but they don't even have case control. This is going to be yet another round going to Disrupt. Great series so far from them.
Disrupt, at least on the previous 2 rounds, have been doing a fantastic job of funneling eUnited into a singular point of action to try and make their execute work. And, you know, those pretty much go as you expect. Your setup just needs one call to, like, okay, everybody's coming through this doorway, and it takes only a couple seconds to rotate the rest of your defensive setup into position to just completely shut that down, as we've seen on the last 2 rounds here. Obviously, with a couple trades being the exception, but for the most part, DG has handled the last 2 rounds with class here. And now they get to go back to the basement, which arguably was their closest loss here so far, but due to the good heroics from Reed, they were able to save it and win that site as well.
So eUnited, that last round, just taking quite a bit of time to actually get towards the site. I'd say they did a pretty good job of clearing out cache, some really intelligent utility usage to get that full on and cleared with the hard destruction. But when it came through to the follow-up, to actually clear utility next to site and start getting map control, it seemed that eUnited had nothing inside of that fight at all. I mean, they didn't have information, they had nothing to clear utility. They were simply walking at Disrupt and hoping that the gunfights went well, and that's something that we really haven't seen eUnited do for some time on either side of the coin. They're usually the team that really likes to get in those engagements and get in those early fights. I mean, we saw that inside of the first round. It's just really slowed down now, and I don't know whether it's that they don't like it or how it was really, you know, performing inside of that first round. They think that they could try and get around Disrupt some other way. But for me, I mean, you're up 3-1, utilizing that in the first round, and then you go away from it. I don't know exactly where the disconnect is there.
All right, well, let's see if eUnited is going to be able to seal the deal on the basement attack this time, coming so close to victory in a 3v1 scenario as well, only to fall by Reed denying the planter and one other player in the final seconds of it. Obviously, repeating the same strategy more than likely going to work for them. They'll just have to pay closer attention to that church position in the event they take the site in similar fashion here. Much like the previous round as well, roam presence set pretty much a bar minimum here for Disrupt. Retro once again being the only glaring exception to that. He's going to be holding in the same spot over here at top blue steps, waiting to see if he can catch any overeager players in garage. Drone, I believe, did pass him, so he's more than likely spotted at this point. If not, he would have just gotten spotted by Rexon right here, but he's already funneled himself back deeper into blue to await the push from oil, or of course the stairs themselves.
You know, you got a lot of site construction when Disrupt is still putting things together with a minute off the board in action phase. There's a lot of stuff going on here for Disrupt, making some new things into blue so that Reed can assist with, I believe, oil pit. So DG on the full turtle setup hype train once again. Have some more utility dedicated to church, though, to try and slow them down once they're trying to go for walls. Grixer's going to get down and actually fragged out. Don't exactly know where that happened, but I'm going to assume it was through vertical play from J9 there. And yes, it's all the way up top. That's actually 2 times that we've seen that this season now, where a buck goes up to logistics and ends up getting fried through vertical play.
Super unfortunate. At a very minimum, it's not an even exchange, but hey, they're able to get the hatch open for their troubles due to distracting J9 and getting him to waste the rest of his impacts from the looks of his utility. So that job has been done. They've got their access point, but once again, that's the crux of the situation, is they haven't had problems doing that in the previous 2 rounds either. But when they've used that singular execution point, they've pretty easily gotten shut down by trying to go through it. The good news, however, is that with basement, those options usually open themselves up with relative ease, so I would heavily doubt that eUnited is going to just funnel everybody through that hatch, as we can already see from Yeti's position, which is very bold, and he's probably a little confused right now. He's made it all the way into church, hasn't seen a soul just yet. Somehow Reed didn't catch him, literally just running into the site, so Yeti's going to get a free one off of that. That's site control going over. A lot of the other members of the team are also going to drop through hatch here, and that's going to lead to a 1-for-1 exchange to bring us back down to a 3v3. First plant attempt is being made, I believe, in Arsenal here. J9's going to get lost deep sight, but again, Retro's there to trade. However, he's not going to last long either. Kansan gets his 3rd kill on the round. Now NJR alone trying to retake this. He gets the angle onto Kansan, but Kansan has no real reason to swing on this and take the fight. That's going to pressure him for time. Nitro goes out. If he blew it up initially, might have been able to take him down, but he's missed the opportunity. Kansan has rotated, taken out NJR, and eUnited finally have a round on the board in their attacking half.
You know what that long haul and America have in common? They're just so free. Just so free. Absolutely ridiculous that Yeti was even allowed to do that. I mean, he just walks up the hallway and walks into sight. And on top of that, John, not only does he shoot the only gun in the game that sounds that way, but he also walks into a Banshee. Like, what other audio cues do you guys need to know that Yeti is inside of your building trying to kill you? He just walks in, shoots Reed in the side of his head, and then just has church control. No one stopped him. No one on cameras. No one concerned about the hallway. eUnited. I mean, this is like your calling card. This is where the aggression should happen. Let's see these early entries try and get something done. I mean, if you drone that out and there's no utility or overwatch on that area, you might as well take it. I mean, you just walked in and practically owned the place. So, I mean, nice read there by eUnited, and, you know, great attempt by Yeti. He kind of went on a, you know, rogue mission there, but ended up working out for him.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Yeti as well, that's the second time he's gotten away with that, or at least made it to the bottom of main stairs with no one from Disrupt countering it. The first round, he was able to go over towards Moto, and he took a fight much earlier on, obviously, just to get the 1-for-1. But this time, yeah, he's allowed to go all the way up through main hall into church, and he's in there for a good 5 to 10 seconds before anybody even sees him, and that's after they kill his teammate. So very awkward turn of events, to say the least, but very, very influential for the eUnited roster to be able to put themselves on the board here at 1-3. Now time to see if they can carry that forward, though, as this next series of sites the Disrupt are going to unlock over this round and the next have looked a lot more convincing for our defenders, so should be a much greater task for eUnited to try and accomplish it here.
Yeah, I think that this is going to get the ball rolling for eUnited. They just need that little bit of confidence boost, and they got it on the right people. I mean, Grixer 5-2-3 right now, the most clutch player on this entire squad, and you have Kansan at 6-0-3, and this guy right here does it all. When I checked his stats today and compared them to stage 1 and what we saw from other players, I mean, Kansan across the board is a jack of all trades. Whatever you need this man to do, he's got it. Right now, he's running the ace, and though hard destruction used to be a hindrance for anybody that really wanted to kill a lot of people, Ace is not that. Ace has that AK-12, really, really strong weapon, as well as some great hard destruction. So giving Kansan that, really strong pair there.
Once again, able to open up the balcony wall relatively early on in the round. A nice frag grenade is placed right over the wall, takes out the mute or Kaid jam. I think it was a mute jam replaced in there, so it's going to be able to get rid of that very quickly and open up the wall for access for eUnited once again. We can already see players trying to establish positions elsewhere on the map too, which is a good sign, as that was the biggest issue with their attack last time, was they really only had that breach to work with, and it kind of funneled them into a kill box at the end of the round. This time, things are looking like they could be different, but there's also some counteraction coming in from the Disrupt side of things. Most notably, you can see NJR way over in strip right now, so they are definitely looking to counter out the map control that eUnited is looking to gain for themselves too. And I mean, even if eUnited goes for it, there's a lot of resistance upstairs on the construction side. You can see they have the committed deployable shield setup right there, so getting control of these other parts of the map is not going to be easy. And once again, eUnited is very quickly running out of time to take those parts of the map.
Yeah, and that's the main issue, is the timer is the king of the round. It's going to dictate what your decisions can be and what they can't be. So for eUnited, they're still really stuck on wanting the CCTV control and trying to get the diffuser down there. Probably ill-advised to try and rotate towards construction simply because Disrupt is playing for that to be open. They have the deployable shield as well as the entire double panel for construction with a hole through it, so they're able to play that off of green box. I mean, Disrupt are still in full control of this round. The only thing that eUnited even has a, you know, slight hand in is that CCTV wall. That's the only area they could possibly even walk into, but if you do, more than likely going to die. J9 with a really nice pickup. NJR going to pick one up as well, but it's Yeti to the call once again. Here's the smoke jump down, but instead sprints, and that's going to put his gun down. He gets eaten alive by Reed. All left up to Alfama now on breach. He does have the case, but he's got people on every single side of him. I don't see this going very well as he enters the building. He is immediately shut down by the shotgun of Shuttle and Disrupt. That's going to be 4 rounds for them on their defense.
I don't know how Yeti keeps getting into these super forward positions, but he keeps just showing
and why
up
so
randomly
late, man?
and killing
Why
like
so
one
late?
person, and then he just disappears. I don't know what it is. I mean, to be fair, the analysts were talking about him needing to step up on the entry department, and he should be winning it because he's gotten the first kill every single round so far, I think, with maybe like round 2 being the exception.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, eUnited looking quite solid. They're getting their initial things done for their sites. It just seems to be that if they don't have those early entry kills, that they're not really, you know, going to do too much. Again, we go back to the whole map control thing. We really didn't see them try and go for anything else. They just kind of stood outside on timer, waited, and then eventually executed into a hail of gunfire from Disrupt. So we're going to head back over to Master. They've seen this one before as well, so probably going to have a better game plan when it comes to this. The previous round, they got stuck up inside of logistics, where Reed and that exact Banshee that you just put down really put a thorn in a lot of their plans. There was nothing going on for eUnited inside of that Master take.
Yeah, like you were talking about before, eUnited playing a lot for early kills right now, but Disrupt's playstyle doesn't really match that from eUnited with server. Disrupt is playing very, very conservative right now, really only extending their setups if they can really set up the rooms they're trying to extend into, such as on this site, for instance, where they're going to set up NJR or another one of their players on the inside of Cache. They haven't really had any of these wild roams where the player isn't really supported by any reinforcements or additional utility in the room he or she is sitting in. But at the end of the day, even when we have seen that, they haven't actually met any fights. So eUnited, despite trying to play for these early picks, is just not having much luck actually being able to find them right now. So they might need to try and shift away from that and get a little bit more active early on to at least get more map control here.
Yeah, I actually think that that's the perfect thing to say there, John. Be more proactive than reactive. I think that they're trying to allow Disrupt to make those early mistakes, let them fall into the trap. They get the early pick, then eUnited's allowed to do what they want to do, right? But it's not how it is. Like you said, Disrupt has been setting up their sites as more of a horizontal hold, which works so damn well, guys. Let me tell you, these horizontal holds where you can support your entire team with utility are so strong. And unless there's some mistake that's made from the squad, or eUnited just has a really good game plan on how to make these people move, it's probably not going to go their way. We saw the last time that eUnited were actually able to get NJR out of Cache quite early on here. We might actually have a repeat of that, but they still weren't able to really gather the map control that they needed to force that plant down.
So NJR is able to interrupt the first attempt to open up the wall. That's going to eat up a thermite charge as well, so not going to be able to use that later on around. Thankfully, in the previous round, they didn't really seem to need that extra charge, even though it did end up giving them logistics access. Good news is they still have 3 Selmas as well, so losing just the thermite charge is not going to be the end of the world here if Alfama ends up wasting the second one, as he's just now used it. It is going to be used to open up, looks like, the red wall, though, and that'll give them actual access as it goes off this time. NJR gets a lot of damage on the Rexen, but no kill. Never mind. There it is. Reed, in the meanwhile, is able to take down another member of the eUnited roster, and just like many, many rounds in the past, Disrupt have the early advantage off of their more passive holds here, and they are going to be able to just fall back upon that now. There's no reason for them to continue holding aggressive positions. They've got the man advantage. Let eUnited come to them now.
Yeah, really, really big problems for eUnited here. Disrupt still every man up, but they know exactly where NJR is. Nice pre-fire there from Alfama to take him down. Still plenty of time as well, some hard destruction. So still have some chances here to get some map control. Case is in Alfama's hands as Yeti and Grixer rotate away from Cache. Yeti going to be on Master, just trying to get some picks here as those are desperately needed. They were able to take down NJR, but with the remaining members of Disrupt, they still have a lot of utility to be able to stop plant, especially with those nitro cells. Nice. But nice pickup here from Alfama onto Retro. That's the mute off the board here. We're actually making some really good progress. Stun grenades in now, going to clear these ADSs, which is the calling card for Yeti to hop in. More than likely going to be some gunfights ensuing soon. Alfama with a nice pickup as well. That's going to be a triple kill for him on the round. One of the best rounds we've seen from him in quite a long time. Grix are going to make it even more difficult for Disrupt now, but it's going to be a trade. And Yeti takes down J9 for eUnited's second offensive round before the switch.
Fragmite stepping up to the plate there. Beautiful stuff from Alfama. Members of eUnited not having much of a say in that round, to be honest, considering it had gone down to the 3v4 situation, but they're able to make it work anyway. And that's off of the great entry work from Alfama, taking out the player in the bathroom, and I believe one of them in the back of logistics as well, opening up a lot more possibilities for their team to flood out onto the site and handle the gunfights that remained with a lot more room to work with there. Great stuff by him. Opens up that second round for eUnited, and just in time as well, as the half is now over. We've got a 2-4 scoreline as the teams will switch sides.
Yeah, I personally, I just think that eUnited needs to stop working out and, spend more time making attacks. Like, come on, guys. Squatting is not that important, and attacks are. Maybe if Yeti played shirtless, eUnited would win more. That's just personally how I feel about it. I don't know how you feel about it, but yeah. I mean, hey, man, like, we can get him some pasties. That's fine. He'll be all right, then you're technically speaking not shirtless.
I suppose.
Hashtag free
I'd
the
like
nip,
to
John.
move on from this topic, please.
Anyways, on to things that actually matter. eUnited switching over to defense, which we talked about earlier. This is their most potent side. So this is where we're going to see them light up that scoreboard. But I will say this about that offense. I really would have liked to see them utilize Yeti more often, just because he was really, really impactful in a lot of those rounds, getting a lot of good entry kills and really opening things up for eUnited to have a chance. But he was just utilized so late quite often that it didn't have the influence that they were really looking for.
There's a couple rounds where he was able to make the first strike for the team, and often on those basement attacks as well. He was able to find quite a bit of impact, as the round where he was able to take down Reed should kind of speak for itself there, on top of the 1-for-1 trade, along with the intel that he was able to get back in round number 1 too. But like Stoke said, we didn't really see a lot of the early action, with maybe 1 or 2 rounds being the exception outside of those 2 basement attacks. Still a little bit of setup being done here by eUnited, just a couple more walls to throw up here. They have left the third church panel soft, just as an interesting note there. So there's going to be a little bit of play capability that'll be opened up for eUnited. Same can be said for Disrupt, however. So we'll have to wait and see how that will potentially play out for both teams when we get into a late round situation.
Just looked up for my notes here, and Yeti, what a very interesting position for him. Kansan's got an Electro Claw for the hatch, so they're not going to be able to get that literally at all. I mean, their only chance is to have J9 try and get it with that, Kali charge, but that's going to be really, really difficult because you have to choose the proper corner if it's, spaced out appropriately. So this is probably not going to be their best option here, but that's a really strong position for Yeti there with that deployable shield, as well as using those Momai discs to be able to help himself. Lots of good stuff coming out from eUnited already on this defense so far.
The good news, though, is like you said, with the Kali, they should be able to counteract it if they choose to open the hatch. It still has all three of the charges as well on J9, so it shouldn't be much of an issue to do that unless they're really trying to save one for the church wall in the event they need to use two on a single wall here. Retro's going to be jumping into kitchen, which means we can more than likely expect the kitchen hatch to be the next logical target here for Disrupt to try and open things up. Still with over a minute to go, a lot of lead-in time before we kind of get to any point where Disrupt are going to feel the need to aggress into the site. J9 is starting to take up positions on top of that blue hatch as well, looking to see if he can find any players sitting behind that with their usual hold to try and take out and get them an early frag. Much like what we saw from the Disrupt roster in the first half, though, there's not much of a roam game here from eUnited extended out from their actual site. They're playing very turtle heavy right now, so it's up to Disrupt to make the action start here with the remaining 40 seconds on the clock.
Well, we'll see if Disrupt can hop too, because if not, eUnited's going to be walking away with a round strictly off of a turtle. This is looking a lot like what we saw from eUnited on their offense, but hey, that's just kind of how Clubhouse plays. It's a lot of finagling back and forth and eventually trying to force your way onto site, especially with no early kills here. Stun grenades out for DG now as Retro's going to drop down the kitchen hatch, but he's immediately eaten up. Now Case down. They're going to have to drop somebody down in order to pick that back up and start this plan. Otherwise, this round is already done. But some nice moves here from eUnited, picking up a lot of frags. J91 with the sniper as well. Alfama, though, with the refrag. It's all down to Reed in the back of Armory, but that's quickly done and dusted as well. eUnited, round 7 in the bag.
And a very straightforward closeout there from eUnited. Much like the issues they faced on their attacking side, seems like that ugly problem showed up for Disrupt as well. Not being able to get anywhere near the map control that they really needed. They try to go for a Hail Mary drop through that kitchen hatch, and we saw that Retro getting immediately dropped as soon as he goes down that hatch. No one else seemed to want to follow his suit, but a lack of time kind of forced the issue as players tried to push in from a couple different angles, but ultimately not with too much success there as eUnited shut it down pretty quickly and take their own third round. Only one more away from tying it now as they head up to CCTV.
Well, sounds like Clubhouse. Smells like Clubhouse. It's probably Clubhouse, and this is how it goes. So we'll head up to CCTV and see if eUnited can show us something fresher than what we saw from Disrupt. So far, though, the offensive units for both of these teams just very lackluster, just not able to get the entry frags needed, some disjointed stuff once they actually try and go for a plant there. Like, Disrupt is going for an armory plant, and there was really no concern once the man dropped on where the positioning was for any of these eUnited members over towards AK or towards Dirt Tunnel, and right when he drops, he's just shot in his back with almost no overwatch. So I don't know exactly how that happened, because obviously we're on his perspective, but somebody done goofed, because that's not supposed to happen there. So we'll see if Disrupt can possibly fix that up here on their CCTV attack. When we saw eUnited go up against this setup, they really didn't get the map control needed. That's been the highlight of both of these offensive units so far. So we'll see if Disrupt tries to get past that CCTV and work towards other parts of the map.
Yeah, both teams trying to kind of force the issue in multiple departments right now, and both teams trying to figure out how to get out of that, as it's clearly not working. Disrupt may be a bit hard-headed on it, though, and try us out for one or two more rounds here. But eUnited certainly was working to sort of push themselves away from that towards the end of their own attacking half. Unfortunately, with limited degrees of success, they were only able to get those 2 rounds. Those 2 rounds is enough, especially on Clubhouse, considering how defender-sided this map can sometimes be. And now they have the opportunity to start swinging this in their direction, especially if they win things out here and tie us up. Disrupt moving pretty quickly to set their players up over on the balcony wall. They already have their hard breach in position to open it, and I don't imagine there would be much delay now that the Kali is here. So much like what we were seeing from eUnited, shouldn't be too much of a problem here to get this wall open with still plenty of time remaining on the clock.
Well, this time around, we are going to have an active bandit trick. United favoring the mute over that. So we'll see if Grixer has, or excuse me, Disrupt favoring the mute over that. We'll see if Grixer has any success with these bandit batteries. But as of right now, eUnited concerned about the proper things. They have Yeti downstairs to be able to help Grixer in any regard, whether it be Nitro selling them on the entry through the hatch or what have you, or through the breach, excuse me, or what have you. But as of right now, Grixer is in the war zone. Stun grenades pouring in as well as frag grenades as he's trying to deny this, but not going to have the chance. Secondary frag grenade in, and he's going to get lit up out the door. Wall now open for Disrupt with only half the timer down.
Too much coverage from the window where NJR was just at a moment ago, so just not really any real capability for Grixer to try and get on that without taking a massive risk to his life. And even then, if he goes down, there's still a possibility that he doesn't get the battery down in time and the wall doesn't get denied, so it's just too risky. And even in the retreat, still loses 50 of his HP, so very much made a smart decision there, Grixer did, because he still has those additional batteries that he can now put down on the construction wall and cause further delay for Disrupt anyway. Plus, the wall's not the end of the world. We already saw eUnited get that open many times and still ultimately fail to take control of the site at least once, so there's still a bit more work to be done here for Disrupt, despite the victory on opening up that wall. We can see quite a few members of eUnited as well still in position downstairs that haven't been cleared out. That's a lot of bodies that can very quickly fall back and pinch on this sort of a push here. As once again, Disrupt looking to try and get themselves in, straggling for any sort of positioning with only 30 seconds left.
Disrupt is going to shift gears over to a construction take. They shot the bandit batteries through the wall. Some really good Z-ping usage there by the offense, but I was snickering a little bit ago because eUnited had 3 members at the top of red, and that was probably the worst cluster of people that we could have seen there. All the armor, all the the defending members of the team sitting in those extremely pivotal anchor positions, all just rushed to the top of red. But they don't really exactly have anywhere to sit right now, especially with this wall open. They're going to try and fight back in, but Retro immediately starts putting the plant down. Nice adjustment here from Disrupt, but Kansan finally fires back. Nice pickups here, well needed as Rexon's going to attack on as well. They're looking for the planter, and they got it. Kansan, that jack of all trades that we were talking about, coming up huge inside of round 8.
Just once again, the same story we've been talking about this entire map here. Too much denial coming in from the defensive side, too much to fight against to try and get into the site for the attackers, and they don't want to take the risk on it. So time continues to tick down. They, as you said, tried to rotate over and take that construction control for themselves, and at a minimum, they were able to get off to a good start moving themselves in, but it wasn't long considering that they probably didn't have great intel at that point before the trades started coming back again from the defensive side of things. United have no problem managing that one. A little bit scary there, and they almost don't deny that plant, and that could have opened up some possibilities, but they are able to stop it at the final second of it being planted and win out the round. They're now tying us up at 4-4 and taking us over to their third and final site, which is going to be here in Gym, because you know it's not bar.
You do know it's not bar. Unless your name's Flynn, then it's not, but then it's probably bar. I mean, hey. But I will say this. At least Disrupt got further than eUnited did. They're showing a little bit more success on their offense. The CCTV attack went well. I like how they utilized their utility, especially using those drones for that Z-ping to get rid of the bandit batteries to the wall. Very cheeky, very, very intelligent usage there from them. But eUnited with a hell of a retake. And that's the scary thing when you look at these two squads. And personally, that's why I think eUnited's defensive win rate is so high. I mean, these guys are so difficult to gunfight when it's their environment.
Very much the case. United have been very much trying to force the issue against Disrupt, similarly to how Disrupt were trying to do it from their own defensive half, but United really thriving in it right now. Disrupt have tried their best to work their way in on the previous 2 rounds, but have had very, very minimal success with it so far. They just need to try and find a way to bargain in a little bit sooner, that or gather the intel that we know that they can do. They had no problem doing that against the Sonics on Monday, especially on their Oregon match, where they were faced with a lot of very similar situations that also looked like they didn't really have a dog in the fight to get, or a horse in the race, whatever your terminology is there, to get themselves into the site, but ultimately were still able to win it due to great drone intel that they gathered in the previous 30 or 40 seconds before that. That was something that we saw in their basement attack, just to give an example there, back on Oregon on Monday. So need to see a little bit more of that, and then Disrupt could get themselves on a winning foot once again pretty easily here.
Oh, very unfortunate there for Disrupt and specifically Reed, but he's still got a Selma out, going to toss it on here. See if Alfama is able to get rid of it, but he's definitely not going to be able to get rid of it before the first one goes off. So they're still going to have some visuals into there. More than likely going to be able to watch the rotate as well if they stand on the actual roof. So that's actually a really nice position here for Disrupt to be able to cut off anything going on inside of construction. But the bad thing is that for right now, it looks like Disrupt wants to push through here. So really what they're only going to be able to do is cut off that one lane for any eUnited members to move forward.
2/5 of their hard breach utility is now gone as well, not with the first one being completely wasted, of course, and the second one only able to open up the one charge, which just gives them an angle more than anything else. You can't even really use it from the ground level here, as we can see from NJR's perspective. So we have to try it from the roof. The roof. Good nade in the meanwhile here from Shuttle, who was able to take down one of the defenders, Kansan. I don't even know where that nade was thrown specifically, but it sent Kansan flying into the next dimension. Nice one. Looks like it came through the floor there from Shuttle.
Yeah, he looks like me after a Friday night. Like just laid out on the floor. Just not having a very good time,
You just
man.
lay down,
I'm tired.
We'll talk to you soon.
There we go. Oh, the variance, very, very smart usage here by NJR. Instead of using the roof, he repels on the side of the building so he can get a deeper angle into construction. Picks off a member of eUnited for that as well. Alfama and Kansan now down, and having Kansan off the board especially not something that eUnited's looking forward to. They do still have quite a few members alive, though. It's a 3v5 right now, and we've had a pretty dormant Rexen so far, so this might be the round where he pops off.
Here's coming in that drone intel that I was talking about before, though. Disruptor doing okay. Disruptor were doing some good work until Yeti decided to throw a nitro cell and completely decimate the pushing force trying to work their way into Jim. Rexen is also going to get tripped up here, too, as he goes down, however. So the game is not over just yet. They're even going to be able to retrieve NJR, bringing him back from the dead. Oh, never mind. Shuttle rolls right up, shuts down both Yeti and Rexen, and very swiftly secures this round for Disrupt.
Do you know what happened?
I missed how they died at the stairs. I didn't see that.
Rexen impacted the wall and downed himself.
Okay, I had a feeling it was a self down, but I'd hoped
I thought it was a grenade,
else. Yeah.
but then I was like, the Banshee's still alive. And I was like, oh no, he impacted himself. He tried to confirm the down. Just, oh man, that's a rough one there for EU.
Well, eUnited, running into a few bumps in the road here, are going to lose control of the lead just when they were about to gain it as well. So much effort to bring it back up to 4-4, starting this half down from 2-4, and now only to lose it yet again. But thankfully, still only one round behind. Plenty of work to be done to bring this back, and they get to route back over to the sites where they've had arguably much better performances so far. Here as they'll head into the basement defense for the second time. Now on round at number 10. Disrupt have a lot more work to do here if they want to find their own 6th round and put themselves on that point.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they fare this time around. Disrupt so far, again, it goes to that back to that thing where they really haven't found the progress that they really want with their offensive unit. They've done it a couple of times, though. We will give them that. We talked about that inside of round 8, where they were able to get construction open and try and go for a plant. We need to see something along those lines here on, the basement sites, especially inside of Armory. They went for the Armory execute the last time, and it ended up getting thwarted extremely well by eUnited. There was really nothing there for Disrupt at all. Immediately dropped the hatch. Case gets dropped after they're able to frag out the first man in, and eUnited walked away with that round. So for Disrupt, I think it's trying to set things up and be ready for when eUnited are going to attempt to rush you down while you're going for that plant. We'll see how it works out. eUnited going to have the same setup as they had last time as well. I want to see if Disrupt pushes into this setup that Yeti has inside of Moto. I just find it so interesting. I haven't seen this utilized.
Yeah, kind of got ignored on the previous round due to them trying to primarily execute in from Arsenal. So let's see if we get a little bit more action over there towards the Moto setup this time. They have the capability to get past it, assuming they brought the Cali again, which they did on J9. So they still have that capability to open it without too much of an issue here, but focus, of course, on the easier hatches first. Reed's going to use one of the 3x Kairos to pop open the blue hatch. I do not see a Kaid charge over on the kitchen hatch, but that doesn't mean that they don't have one in their pocket. It's actually going to be left, not denied right now by Kansan, as he probably has the second one on the church wall, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Excuse me, yeah, the dirt tunnel. Thank you very much, Cyano, for showing us that. Yeah, away from that, they should be able to get the other hatch open pretty easily too. So most of that Cali effort is going to be used to get Moto hatch open if they even want to go for it. So we'll have to see what Disrupt choose to do, because like I said, they ignored it on the previous round, if I'm remembering it correctly. So they might choose to do that again here, considering they've gotten the other 2 hatches for free.
Oh, I see what's going on here. Okay, so eUnited not bringing any impacts for impact tricking, so they want Disrupt to go for this attack into the Armory area. They've brought a lot of utility here to support that. Alfama's shield on AK is really going to help him there, because if they take blue control, he's still going to be able to exist here and use his toxic smoke. So Lots of good things here for eUnited that I did not initially see before. So this is probably the positioning in which Disrupt got caught up with last time, just because it's a little unorthodox. Usually you see smoke inside of dirt tunnel here. So, I mean, really strong setup for eUnited. Disrupt making good progress, though. Breaking up this floor as well as getting these hatches open.
Hansen just waiting for the timing to try and use that Nitro cell. We are going to see the X-Kairos get denied pretty quickly due to the position from Yeti. Rexon will, in fact, pick up a kill. Not from the spot we were just watching, though. He's going to be over here in blue, being able to take down NJR as he tries to push his way down through Oil Pit. So pretty easy denial there for Rexon. Puts United on the board and in good straits. You'll note, of course, that Disrupt are trying to put the pressure on a lot earlier this time, but as of yet, it hasn't really worked out to get them in. That's going to continue to be the case now as Retro gets dropped, trying to get access himself. Yeti ready for the duel against the Hibana, and he's going to be able to win things out there as Retro and Reed both end up going down. Shuttle does turn this around a little bit with 2 kills on his own. Also opens up a plant opportunity, and on top of that, we still have J9 up top, but he's failed to support his teammate in the plant, didn't have the angle he needed to counteract that frag, and now with only 5 seconds remaining, he really does not have a hope of winning this. He'll get instantly destroyed when he tries to go down that hatch, and eUnited will net themselves round number 10, tying us up once again at 5-5.
Oh man, I want to talk about the defensive setup for like 10 years. That is just the crossfires that they have, the shield placements, everything that eUnited's doing there. So well done by them. I mean, big shout out to Meepy. That's when those coaches come in and just make magic happen. That was definitely one I have not seen before. So it's really nice to see that, especially in a match that means so much. I mean, once again, I know that this clubhouse has been going on for a while, folks, but if you have not tuned in earlier on into the broadcast, this is for major qualifiers. Whoever loses this, you get nothing. You go to 7th place, you sit there, you watch your friends play the video game instead of you. It's not fun. You have an older sibling, you know when they took that controller from you, you know, on the Wii, you're trying to play Mario Kart and they just didn't want you to do it. Well, that's basically this. Everybody wants to go to the major. That's the best part about being in Siege. So whichever one of these squads ends up winning at the end of the day will go into that qualifier, which, I mean, right now, it's neck and neck.
Quite literally, in fact, on our round count here, eUnited's going to look to try and take control yet again if they can get themselves up onto Map1 with a second victory on Cash and CCTV. But the dangerous thing to know is it'll only get them up to Map1, and they didn't have the best amount of success over on the 3rd site that they would have to defend after this. And that's, of course, where Disrupt could still come in and trigger OT if that indeed ends up being replayed the same exact way. So this is still a very, very close match, even with the round results being kind of expected over the last few here. United still has to watch out, especially if they lose grasp of the plot on a round like this.
Yeah, absolutely. We are moving into CCTV here, though, so I think this is going to be a strong showing from eUnited just because of the utility that they're bringing to the table. I don't think that Grixer's going to find any success at trying to bandit trick the wall. We'll have to see how that goes. Initially, right off rip, not even 20 seconds in, we already have our initial hard destruction usage, but it's not the thermite. It's going to be Reed with that initial Selma charge on the garage panels inside of garage. So that's actually going to be really, really strong here. Yeti not being able to deny that is going to mean that when Disrupt eventually go for control of garage, which this is seeming like it will be, it's going to be a lot easier for them to try and handle the catwalk player. There's not going to be as many areas where he can rotate back or get assistance from somebody inside of sight.
He's been able to open 2 of those panels now as well. Definitely good initiation rights for the attackers to try and get their way in there. Work still needs to be done to open up the primary wall, of course, over here, and they are going to be able to take out the initial reinforcements coming in from the bandit. But there is also a Kaid in play from Yeti, and he has the electric claw somewhere else where it cannot be impacted by the utility. Let's see. Can we see it from here?
I
don't see it, so
I don't see it either.
I feel like I'm blind, but but it's there somewhere, folks. He's hit it pretty well.
Get your magnifying
I don't know if you
glasses.
saw it at home, but we didn't. But it's there somewhere. And it's being hidden somewhere where the Kali utility can't get access to it. So this is a real problem now for Disrupt.
I'm pretty sure this guy works for Pablo Escobar. I can't find any of this stuff. This is crazy. I don't really know. So, Disrupt now working on that wall. Grixer does have a nitro cell in hand, so this could actually bag him quite a few kills as he's able to land this correctly. Don't know exactly when that's going to happen, though. Disrupt's still just taking their time to clear out a lot of this utility, and you can't blame them. We can still see some of my discs placed around the site, and actually, this has worked out really well for eUnited so far. We have 2 minutes off the board. The only thing that Disrupt has anything in, once again, garage. That's it.
Rexon with a good start as well. Gonna be able to take down Retro after he tries to get some initial control close to Garage. Tries to take a second duel, but J9 is ready for that, even with the headshot as well on the CSRX. Gonna be able to take him out. That's Garage access maintained, and it's gonna get pushed even further here as well with Reed's next kill against Yeti, who tries to come in for the trade. J9, remember, still has the angle up here as well, and he still has that sniper, which is nearly an instant down on most shots, so you gotta be very careful about how you try to peek against that player if he's ready to take the shot. The good news, though, is that Alfama still has all 3 of his smoke charges, so he can delay this push, at least from the catwalk, indefinitely due to how low on the timer we already are. Oh no, that one's gonna get lost, though, but a good follow-up shot from Alfama makes up the difference. He'll take down Reed, bringing this down to a 3v3. Shuttle puts the advantage back in the hands of Disrupt, but now can they get the plant? They're trying to swing into sight. More kills found by them, and NJR finds the final 2, stealing the round out of the hands of eUnited and taking it for Disrupt instead, as now they'll get up to map point first.
That one was not supposed to happen. I can tell you that one for a fact. eUnited not concerned about anyone coming from construction. Amazing move there from NJR. And more than likely, great game planning there from Disrupt inside of the mid game. Just change things up, try and throw something at them that they weren't exactly ready for. Especially with the CCTV wall being closed. They're not supposed to be able to do that at all. I mean, the defenders have so many positions that they can play. It's very hard to try and flood that site, especially with players around that, the top of red area where they have access to the nitro cells, as well as some really good crossfires with their other members inside of sight. So the fact that Disrupt got away with that strictly off of garage control and rotating a player, nicely done by them.
Going to be kind of an expected repeat on the site coming in from United right after that one due to how close it was. Definitely not expecting the overall route that Disrupt took, but they'll probably take steps to immediately rectify that. Would not be surprised if we end up seeing some of Yeti's electric claws going onto the garage panel right off the bat here, or indeed him playing close to it to be able to deny that. We'll see if there's going to be any change-ups in that department. In fact, it looks like it's going to be mute jammers that go down directly next to it instead, at least on the left one. Right one, is it going to get one as well? It's definitely prepping himself for one. Yep, indeed, both mute jammers going down on that wall to prevent the unfortunate turn of events that started at the beginning of the last round there.
You gotta line it up with the motorcycle, John. Otherwise, he can shoot it from the door. Come on, man.
Oh, sorry.
He's checking his stuff.
I'm not that into it where I have that part planned out yet.
You're gonna tell me that you've never had to play that position and get randomly wall banged through the stock door? It's not fun. I'll be honest. Like firsthand experience, not a fun position. It kind of sucks, honestly. Like there's a lot of things that can go sideways. So can't blame you for that one. But this is desperately needed for eUnited because garage controls how Disrupt got away with that the last time. So they're gonna double down on that. Put some mute jammers down there. Still have Yeti exist down there as well to assist Rexen. And I think that this is gonna be a nice setup here. I think it's going to be able to assist them by keeping that alive a little, or keeping Rexen alive a little bit longer, because obviously he can have a really good round and turn this all around for eUnited. But the problem is now, though, Disrupt, same game plan, and they're still allowed to get the wall open. Some good utility usage through the drone hole to get rid of the mute jammer, then immediately slap that Selma on, put it to good use, break down the wall, and Garage all of a sudden has a big old hole in it.
Yeti did try to use a nitro cell, I think, to stop that from happening as well, but it didn't stop it as far as I could tell. So that nitro cell is going to go by the wayside. That's one of the 3 of them now unavailable for the actual gunfight later on in the round here. Shuttle on, he's not alone either. He's got NJR and one other player stacked up right now against the CCTV window, trying to look to see if they can take out the player actively manning the walls, whether that be Grixer or the other player that's also in here with him trying to play to that similar angle. Either way, half the round gone by. Grixer's going to go crazy with the nitro cell. That's number 2 out of 3 that they had in their arsenal here. That one's not going to do much damage either here, so they got to be very careful with their choice in the third one, because now the walls are starting to crumble in on them a little bit here, as the wall does get successfully opened this time by Disrupt.
Well, luckily enough, Rexen still has the default camera inside of Garage, so he'll be able to assist himself with that. But the problem is now, though, Yeti only going to be able to play around the garage stairs, so no assistance for the main door here. Yeti's going to move back. Disrupt rounding the building now as they're coming in the bottom of Garage. This is going to be up to Rexen and Yeti to try and shut this down, but Alfama gets up a kill across the map. Yeti not able to pick up one, but it's Alfama to follow through. Rexen gets shut down by Shuttle, but eUnited still have to worry about a Disrupt body in the side of Garage. Disrupt, though, seemingly, or excuse me, actually, eUnited rotating all the way across as 2 DG members fight their way up Garage stairs.
They want to try and avoid this fight and keep it to long range from the looks of things, or at least keep a direct confrontation open. Retro's going to try to put a wrinkle in that play plan, though, by opening up the second wall at Garage and giving them direct access to a plantable position. There's no nitro cells remaining for the defenders anymore either, so they can't immediately stop this. They're going to have to swing if indeed Retro is able to get into that position and go for the plant, which there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to do that at this point. The members of eUnited, they're going to have to swing out and get aggressive. Grixer takes his mount on top of the table there and ends up going down as a result of it. Retro gets himself a double. He's now got access for the plant. Like I said, there's no nitros. Alfama's going to swing in, though. He denies the plant by rotating through the windows. Where is Reed right now? There he is. He shuts it down and takes the map with it, as Disrupt is going to be able to close it down on number 12. 7-5 is the final score.
Oh no. Alfama gets killed by the rotate hole, not allowing him through. They didn't make it properly for that side, so ends up getting caught on piece of the wall and not allowed to rotate through. A valiant effort, though, as he hopped out that construction window, fought right into CCTV and took that thermite down. Really thought he had it for a second. I thought we were going to overtime, but it was just not in the works. Disrupt, once again, 7-5 EU on Clubhouse, the exact same scoreline we saw the last time around from these two.
Coming up around the corner here, folks, is going to be our second map. It's the pick from Disrupt as well, so eUnited are in trouble right now. We're going to see if they can bounce back right after this, folks, as we'll go to a short break. When we come back, our analyst desk will be breaking down map number 1 and getting us ready for map number 2. More North American action coming up right around the corner, so stick with us, folks.